Hello, everyone. Welcome to Her Wealthy Show. I'm so happy today to have here with me Paloma Castro, the founder of Darwin Associates. And hello, Paloma.
Hi, hello, Rebecca. How do you?
Hello, welcome to the podcast. I wanted to start by saying that you work in the intersection of strategy communications, but also capital, right? So before we go into everything you've done and you're doing, I wanted to bring you back to the first memories or your relationship that you had with money, or if you remember any financial responsibility at the time.
Okay, very good. So I have to say, since a very early age, and I reckon that everybody wanted to be a hostess or a nurse. I wanted to be a notary because I thought they were printing cash. So I love it. I thought that money brought you independence, and I could be 3 years old, and I knew that I wanted independence. And fair enough, as well, I live in an environment, I grew up in the times of Spain becoming the country is today, democracy. So it was after Franco, but everything was slightly enthusiastic and a little bit frightful. And I would always remember at home, my parents always like wondering about how to pay the mortgage. And anything that needed more money was another mortgage. And we're talking about those times in Europe and in Spain. The rates, the tax interest of mortgages were 17, 20, 22%. And now people freak out when they go up to 3.
I remember those conversations at home.
I
remember at 7%, so it was maybe a bit later.
But
still,
but it's just funny because I was brought up in an environment in which money was taught through, not in a strategic way. And that's interesting that you're saying that my work today is core strategy. It was more about de facto how to survive. And what I've been always aware is that since day one, I wanted to make it the other way around. So how you play with it instead of just being a question of how do you survive with it.
Great. I love it. It's, I love every time I ask this question because it brings us
memories.
Yeah, to our memories. So you've worked across in your career corporate communications or investment narratives and strategic advisory, right? How did your career evolve from previous background to where you are today in Darwin Associates? Take us through your own journey.
So I think, again, if I link it to the matter that takes us today, which is about finance and empowerment and career, it's interesting because I started very young. My father, that was a very clever, kind man that gave everything to the transition in Spain. He was very involved in politics at the time. Didn't think about money at all. So everything was for the good of the greatest and everything else. And my mom was a teacher, an economics teacher at university. And she was the one that actually brought the money in, meaning my father would spend it for the greater cause and mom to bring it in. And then that makes of you a little bit of a cautious character because you know that it comes in and it goes fast. So I started my career in Brussels very early because my father decided to go into business not having a clue. And I was preparing for the diplomatic corps. And one day my mom phones me and it's like, well, Papa put us in bankruptcy. I was like, great. What does it have to do with me? It's like, well, you're going to have to stop preparing your competition and you're going to have to start working. I was 22. So I put down the phone and I got into bed. And the following morning, my mom phones me like, so what are you up to? I was like, well, I'm depressed. And my mom says, I don't know how you find the time. And that was it. I mean,
Wow.
I could not find
advice.
I could not find the time to get depressed because my mom could not find the. And then that's where I got and said, like, fine, get your act together, discipline, discipline, discipline. And that's been the motto of my life. And then I started working in Brussels, like everybody, first, like trenches. I was good with languages. I was I think, a good lawyer and a very creative mind. And for me, public affairs was perfect. It was like strategic. It was with people, which I love. It was curiosity. And that led me to work for a fantastic company after my first internship, which was McDonald's. That took me to Chicago. And I did amazing things because the American big companies, if they give you one thing, is a structured discipline and go and get it. Very flat organizations, very go and get it, driven by results and rewarding with money. But this is another thing that we never talk about. Oh, I want to be rewarded with love and tenderness. Yeah, and a bonus. And that is the difference.
That will be a sentence.
Totally honest about it.
I want to be rewarded by love or with love and a bonus.
No, and you know what? Keep your love. I mean, I have love at home. I have my friends. Just give me the cash. And so that was good because the Americans are that way. And I did amazing, cool things.
How long did you stay there?
And then I was headhunted by eBay. At the time, eBay was eBay, PayPal, and Skype. And that's when I started understanding the whole system of digital payments. But what it was very exciting about that time is we're talking about a moment, and this is 2008, in which a company like eBay was wondering about selling data. I mean, today you sell your mother. The guys on eBay, they have the payment systems, PayPal. They have the media/communication systems, Skype, and they have the marketplace. That is the paradise of data. And, my whole concept and the work that I did, it was about how to handle data and data privacy. And as well, the whole idea about how liable the digital markets are. So very interesting because I came from McDonald's, which was all about the challenges that you have with food and traceability. And it was the first time that, think about it, back 20 years ago, you would not know what was the name of the cow that you were eating. Today, that sounds normal. But what it meant is that in the supply chain and in the whole area of work, from fork to farm, meaning where you get the product and how it ends up in a restaurant, you have created a whole traceability system. That sounds like normal, but it's not, and it costs money. You have to put in your P&L the headcounts to check that traceability. And this is exactly when I move into eBay and PayPal about, do you have to have a traceability? In this case, it's not about the name of the cow. In this case, it's about the name of the smuggler that is selling weapons. In this case, it's about the fakes that you're buying. In this case, about the fake news. It's the same thing. You need to know. And for a long time, I was one of those. I managed to get the digital space a little bit off the liability system. So I always thought the Americans should have given me a reward because that allowed Google to assist, that allowed Meta to assist. And it was very, very, very interesting because the Americans had it very clear, and that was their next power. It was a little bit like the oil at the time of Rockefeller. Digital was their next, and they managed. While in Europe, we were like, yuppie, the new El Dorado, digital is going to make us rich. And then all of that, think about it, right? Is the Americans still, is flat hierarchical, is go and get it, is you get rewarded if you're good. And I got a phone call from Richemont. His Cartier is a spin-off of British American Tobacco run by South Africans. And I'm mentioning this because I think that one thing that is very important is the cultural differences, not only on management, but as well on perception of what we're talking about, which is money, which is power. Is a country like the States is only 250 years old.
Mm-hmm.
A country like South Africa is slightly older, but in reality is just a colony of the Afrikaners, so Protestant people. The same thing as the States. People that think that, what you do during your life doesn't really matter in terms of what will happen when you die. Because you are predetermined. The concept of free will. And we Catholics, we think that everything that we do here matters. So maybe that's where we have as well a little bit of a conflict about cash.
Yeah. Someone into also the startup world told me a while ago that I should write a book about the differences related to religions and money, which, I've also...
It's all cultural. It's not even religions. It's just culturally. You grow up in a country that is Judeo-Christian, and you will have an approach to cash. Now it's determined by the free will and what happens when you die.
Yeah.
But we can not avoid it, and let's enjoy it and let's thrive on it. And so...
how did you end up in Paris then?
So then from London, they headhunted me for LVMH, so Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. And that was the times in which we have to define the future of digital and luxury. Would you sell online? Will you communicate online? Considering that there are three things for luxury versus mass market. Is control of distribution. So when you are online, you may have not that much control if you get into the bigger picture, like with this huge universe that is the online world. The other thing is the control on the brand aura, which again you control when you have integrated and selective distribution, and not when you have everybody selling your stuff. And then the third thing is controlling the pricing. And if there is one thing that the internet does, it's transparency. So big moment about what do we do. And then you have to think about it. I mean, luxury has become the new church. And it's very interesting, right? So McDonald's is food in demand. It's the mad cow disease crisis. It's about transparency in the traceability. You go to eBay and it's all about, do I trust the digital world? But ultimately is the upcoming like big guru. And then you go into luxury, which is the new church. You go to a shop, like a Dior shop, and you go like you used to go to the church, and you have the new icon that is the back, and you feel and there is the same ceremonials, and it's like, it's the priest, and you buy the product, and you have a bula, so you can like get to heaven faster. And it was fascinating because that's when everything moved around the equity of power between the states, between China, the Chinese buying new power status, and that was cool. But now that has evolved as well. Today, luxury is not where it used to be. Now it's just much more spread. Is losing that conceptual religious power. It still is a symbol, a status. Mine is much more marketized and doesn't have the clout that it used to have. Then I was headhunted to go to Lime, which is back to the States. And that was one thing. The big shock for my life was moving from the Americans to LVMH, in which you go into the French system, which is even more strict in terms of perception as the American ones, in which you really go into hierarchical structures. And you're going to a really old-fashioned way of seeing reward, because that's who we are. We are 2,000 years old, and the other guys are 250.
Yeah,
it's not the same thing. This is more about love. So then I moved to Lime, and Lime was fantastic because Lime was about opening soft mobility. So this idea that in 2035, which is true, 80% of the population of the world will live in cities, and there is no room, and you cannot use the same systems of transport, and you don't have the room for parking lots. Mm-hmm. And then you have the energy consumption. And when I started with Lime, we were still in this debate about climate change, which has faded away a little bit. But now the big discussion is energy is for data centers and for digital development. So you cannot put it back into having a car per person in a city. So that was fantastic and hilarious. And you were talking about the startups. Those guys were like, they were absorbed by Uber, but they were having all the data on movement. And when COVID appeared, their know-how and technology that have been developed through the scooters and the bikes everywhere in the world was very much used for scouting the pandemic. And then I decided to go into something that's what probably we're talking today, which was like, I'm a very good strategic analytical mind to assess where the big changes are taking place and why. And I thought, okay, so we having like, with COVID, I look into mass market, I look into distribution, I look into digital, I look into cultural and religious determinants for growth. What's happening with the money that is in the saving accounts versus the debt of the countries, and why women are not part or empowered as much as they should, regardless of the laws, right? You have the revolution for the right to vote. You have the revolution for the right to have the pill and then control your own career and your own life in terms of whether you wanted to be a mother or define your life. You had the laws that have been passed about quotas at board level. So why? The legal framework is here. There are many women that have fought for certain rights, but somehow, if you look at the reality, they are not really part of what really the big decisions are. And everything is there for that. And then I immediately go back into the saving issue with the debt, because everything is about money, let's be honest. I mean, if we have today a crisis in Europe, it's because there is not a capital markets Europe, because the money is not floating. The moment the money is floating, we could pay for our own problems.
Yeah. I love the way you've brought the topic, because that's the reason why I created Her Wealthy Show. And and realize, talking to many women, also men, who didn't come from financial education. Well, none of us came from financial education. We learned through our lives or didn't learn. But the fact that you were doing the kind of checklist, okay, we achieved all these rights. And it happened kind of the same to me when I came into programs where more money was flooded in funding. I saw less and less going to women. So I was wondering, okay, there's still so much talking about it, but what is still lying behind? I mean, I don't know if there's anything that you've learned from...
Okay, so basically, I think what one of the things that you brought me into your show is the experience that I have for I set up for 2 years, and I came to the conclusion that if you were to look, there were data, very little data, and I started looking into data because I did like I did for any public affairs or corporate affairs. I just go into the facts. I understand the business, and then I decide what politically is good or bad. But I need to understand the business, and I need to understand the data. And the data tells you that on average, it's only 15 to 20% of women that participate in what you would call investment. I'm not talking about women that have a saving account. I'm talking about where the money flows. And that is only, it changes a little bit between geographical zones, but max is 20, minima is 3. I mean, we're talking about nothing. And again, on facts, let's go back second into what we found. So I said, okay, fine. So basically, what could be the solution? And I thought with 3 partners, I went and looked for 2 men. One of them was the chief investment officer of Credit Suisse. And the other guy was the former sets of AXA Europe. And we started looking at how could you transform over time a static situation because you would get the backing of the government, since you would be moving all that savings, huge bag, into the economy. And like through a lot of research, we as well found that the very little part, that 15% of women that were investing, they were investing in much longer thinking. So if they were to be putting money on Uber, they will be actively saying, do change their model in terms of contractual agreements, because it will not last. Or if they were like looking into energy portfolios, they will be looking at what is the most long-term solution. So the frame of mind of the women investor is a very interesting one because it's complementary for men. So actually everything in paper was like, what, it's great. If we were to just float 10% more of women, we calculated that in France it will be around 3 trillion. That was exactly the money that was being looked for in terms of the park of renewable energies and nuclear energy. So it was like,
That's it. It's sitting in the
bingo. And what you would need to, it was a little bit of a rewarding part for the financial institutions that will be bringing more women. So a rebate, fiscal rebate. Let's talk to the authorities because it's in the interest of everybody. You float more money into the markets are happy, then you can arrange like a 5% or whatever, And all of that was based on the principle that women should be addressed differently. And that takes me to maybe the assessment that why. And we spent 2 years on this again. This is in parallel to the fact that I set up my own company and I was making money as a very good consultant, I think. Darwin, working with big companies and public affairs. Because one thing that is pretty obvious to me is that you have to make money so the money works for you, but you have to make money. I'm the most pragmatic person. And if you want to take me to a lunchtime and I start talking about money, you know what? The moment I start talking about money, I have tons of new friends and lots of men that want to go out with me. So I would say that's a highly recommended strategy to get men.
It's a very nice topic.
And so, but do not forget that in this, what I reckon that is interesting is the following. We are different.
That was my question, because you were talking about the technical data that you analyze, the potential, the strategy, and everything works on paper very well. But my question is exactly that, and the work to do around financial confidence and women, however you want to name it. It is what is underlying that, of course, we can go back to history, but we are in today and we need to focus on tomorrow. So what do you think that is still, or you found through, the
500,000 money that we spent?
What is the psychology of money? I call it also spirituality of money.
We different. I mean, like, we're complementary, right? And there are like a few studies, not many, because the one thing that, just to finalize the exercises, the money that women put in their saving accounts is the one that is backing the rating of the countries to borrow on the market.
Wow. With that chunk of big,
So we are paying for the lack of good management of the countries. This is what women have to understand.
I love it. Wow, I got shivers.
We are the ones that are paying for the mismanagement. And the fact that no major initiative will mobilize the money is clearly intentional.
That's another point. Why?
Okay? So, the why, you get it. Okay? You are the one that is guaranteeing that in Belgium, the interest rate for borrowing in the market is 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use your money for your own interest? The country will be in a little bit of a under rating, and they will go to A1 or B. Okay?
Yes.
Got it? Let's go back to we are different. But the problem is not just that the state is very happy that we are retarded. The problem is with us.
Exactly. Start with the individual.
So we are different. We love the difference or not. There are people that like to be equals. I, Paloma Castro, don't believe we're equals. I believe we're different, complementary. I love being complementary to the other part. All included. You know, I'm not talking sexual in dividend. So no, I'm talking about, you know, women and men, the brain, chromosomes that are different. You know, I think it's YY, XY. Okay? I have a different chromosome constitutions. I have been made differently. I have an uterus, which is protection. Risk averse. We get to the world to protect. And we are made like that. So risk aversion is there. Are we prepared? A woman doesn't need to have a financial degree to invest. You do not need to have a business school postgraduate to go and shop. You do not need to be an engineer to use an Apple phone. Okay? We're going to chill out here. Financial education is basics, meaning 1 + 1, what is an interest rate, and the stock exchange is this or that. But you do not need to be neither a guru, not a, no. Again, do you want to go into short bettings? Do you want to go into complicated financial markets, bond emissions? Okay, I got it. That's a profession. Out of the research we did, the 15% was irrelevant. Most top executive women, from CEOs to CFOs, would not invest. Chill. All right. So we're different, risk averse. Is irrelevant about more or less financial education. You have to have the basics because, if not, you are it's like not knowing how to read or write. If you're illiterate, get your basics. But what happens is basically we are much more respondent to messaging than is reassuring. So if you start with an offer in a bank that says, you may risk your life if you invest on this, you're going to freak out. But if you go and say, this is a good product for the education of your children investment, or this is an easy peasy if you want to get your next plan of holidays done. Meaning, it's about how you market, how you talk to women. We are different. Talk to us differently. Why the financial system has not talked to us like they do to men? Meaning, it's pretty obvious that the conversation with men, and I'm not talking anecdotal, this is all things that we have looked at. A men conversation about you're going to get this 17% more plus gets them working. Why would I care? 17% more. But you are reacting to other. So it's a marketing way to talk to us differently. And the financial system, think about it. When did we have the access to a bank account in Switzerland?
I know in general this, I can't remember in Switzerland.
It's in the 70s.
Yes, it's everything in the 70s.
So,
yeah.
Ultimately, they were not a market. The financial sector had enough with men. Because women didn't access it. So it's like, why would you market Dior bag to men if they were not in the market? However, now Dior is marketing to men because men are buying it. But for a long, long time, the marketing purpose was not really. So we were not part of the game. So it's like, there's a way to talk to us. It's a different way. It's normal that we have not been part of the equation because we were not given the access to it. It can get here. Is there an interest? Well, the interest has to be from women making sure that they understand that every time that you have 100 euros in your bank account and you look at them and you are so happy and you want to frame it because you are saving, you're protecting yourself, you losing 5 every month because it's called inflation. So, yay, you can frame it because probably 100 euros in 3 years' time will not pay you a coffee, but you will have them. So, basics, marketing, and then, you were going into why no more money goes to women, why, well, put it this way. If you take the percentage that 15% of women invest, and you go to the big General Assembly of Google or Rheinmetall, the defense company, Germany, and there are only 10% of women that have had the guts or the audacity or the intelligence to invest, will you listen to them? Or will you listen to the 80%? Second, if you make revenues and you get a little bit of cash, you pay more taxes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Whatever you get.
But that's okay because, I'm a big believer in democracy.
Yeah, it's
democracy gives you a right to opinion. I am Trump. I look at the taxpayers and I see this difference between the revenue and tax money coming to my campaign, to my government, and I look at the agenda, who I'm going to listen to. So money gives you independence, but gives you power of decision making. So let's just stop claiming that men should give us this, men should give us the other. Play the game. So voila.
Yeah. Thank you. I was thinking, because you were saying you did the study, but is there any tool that you develop or it was
part? Yeah, the rating. The rating. We develop a rating. That was basically marketing tools to give to financial players like B Corp, in which you will be like accompanying people. But basically, to be completely honest, when we came to the fact that the government didn't really have that much of an interest, we stopped the project. The project is still there, latent. The community is still there. There were loads of importance for 3 things. Financial education. But what I'm saying, right? You do not need a postgraduate master's.
Yes.
There is enough information out there, but tutorials, basics, communities of investors, marketing tools, understanding it. But above all, a self-awareness. This is a little bit like the conversations on women's health, menopause, and the rest. Talking through it, you start taking supplements. Talking through it, you avoid disease. Talking through it, you will get part of it, and then you can no longer complain about me being not treated like an equal because you are different, but you could actually have the right to play according to your involvement in society. After all, it's been part of the game of society.
Absolutely. You feel like then we're deciding, because in the end it's decisions that we take in life, right? We are deciding not to take part of that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. And what I see, and I was talking with someone who also has a financial education platform and advisors working in that platform, and kind of felt like she was not of the opinion on coaching, on psychology of money. And what I see, because we are going to taking all the technical stuff, okay, the information is there. What I've seen for myself, and there is a part that is untapped, and is this part sitting between a therapist and a financial advisor. And this is the part that is different for women. This accompanying together with personal development and understanding the psychology of money. And and as you were saying, the language that these products, and I've seen it also myself. I studied business administration many, many years ago. And I was hating the trading or the stock market, not hating, but I was not kind of understanding in those late 90s, beginning of the 2000s. And even afterwards, I was like, there's something about that is still blocking me to go into investing into stock market. So it's been for really long. Then I felt in my own way of investing, the safe that everybody tells you is the real estate, but nobody gives you like a plan, like, okay, why this is the best. I went through a really renovations drama where I put a lot of money. I ended up in court, and there's a lot of money sitting there to be sent back to me from the universe. So, yeah. So it's like, okay, why this is the best or the other? No, what I've seen, and this is have many conversations with women, like, I don't know, I have 15K, 20K sitting. What would you do? First of all, I'm not a certified financial advisor. And even if you would go to a financial advisor, each financial advisor has a specialty, right? One would be for real estate, another would be
No, or even if it's general,
general. But in the end, you have to decide what it works for you, for your lifestyle. And you is not outsourcing. What I want to get is kind of outsourcing responsibilities. And this is like, okay, you are deciding not to be part of the game because you want to outsource, or someone who told me, no, this woman who had a really bad financial advisor, wealth advisor, okay, we can all have, do the renovations, and I ended up with a bad builder and the entrepreneur, whatever, no? So this can happen. You married and you divorce. So nobody has the key. It's like, okay, you've done so many other things in your life differently. And then there is the kind of like, I would call flashy, how do you say in English? Flashy objects or shiny objects. Like now could be because I'm a woman investing in other startups that are from women. And I went through that process, and in the end, it was not at the time. It was not right for me in that moment because I hadn't analyzed my portfolio, and so nobody was telling me like, okay, you can invest a small ticket, but you need to have the money. Of course, I've worked with the startups, and I know there is a next funding round. Luckily, if the startup is growing, so you need to have this for the next round. So there are so many things depending on what you want to do with your money. And nobody has the key to, what is going to happen. Maybe there is one that you invested and then it's going to hit.
But I mean, like, but that's the kind of thing as well. You have different risk levels, and investing in startups is the number top. And best, but I mean, by the way, everybody has now access to AI. So you put, what is the highest risk? And it was going to tell you startups. So maybe you don't start there. Or you are like me or you, in which we just like it. We just like the fun to hang out with founders. And in a sense, I always say that the money that I invested in startups, and I have invested a lot, it's like I'm doing an MBA. I do an MBA every time. So it's like a new technology, and I then get into understanding it. And so for me, it's like I'm investing in my education. But Lord, would I get any money? I know that my chances are 0.1. So don't get there. But to your point, yes, if I were to first, why I accepted the fantastic invitation from your side is because I think that you are totally right. And in our case, it's a little bit of the exercise of going through an individual transition about understanding why you need to do it and how you need to do it. It's not about put your money here or there, because to your point, there are professional people that do that. It's about why that would allow you to be where you want to be in this phase of your life. And we need a little bit of coaching.
Thank you. You confirm my own research for my own future.
It comes from oneself. But anyway, I just think it's great. So just go for it. And the more testimonials that you have, the better, because women as well, we like this kind of Tupperware concept in which we like in the communities.
Yes.
It's part of who we are, and it's great.
Yeah, no, I think it's totally different. And that's right. It's what you were saying. It's not about to be equal. I mean, for me, it's changing the industry because, yeah, in a way, it's us who has the power to change it. And
But today, we cannot complain. It's not that men are making it difficult. The rules of the game have changed. The laws, the access, we can play. It's up to us to play. But do not complain. Now, you don't have power in the decision-making of the big companies. Now, the governments don't look at you with that much affection. Now, there are no particular projects. If you're not part of the game, you cannot sulk in the courtyard because nobody talks to you. Okay, Rebecca, that was brilliant.
Thank you. We closed the circle. I wanted to maybe just for the future and for the listeners, how do you see how the outlook of the economy? And we were talking before the recording, and you were telling me, and you've said it also, that you see it very well into the strategy of what is going to happen in the market. So how would you see with inflation and geopolitical risk, how everything is shifting?
Well, I mean, I would say that, since the last 5 years, financial planning is just not working. So those plans are 3 years and forecasting, yes, on money, and the game is geopolitical. So it's quite good because that's what I really like and what I get paid to do. The macro, in my humble opinion, the COVID has told us that doesn't get affected. So the stock exchange didn't get affected in COVID. The big players continue. Everybody talks about crisis and a shock. Paloma Castro, I don't think so, because there's like that macro, that big group of players will not collapse. I think that if you were to look into areas where we will grow, is you have to understand what is the matter at stake, right? So everything goes around innovation, whether it's on health, whether it's on food, whether it's on energy. It's the digital innovation that goes faster. So what do you need for digital innovation? You need energy in order to have data centers. So energy pricing, fossil fuels, nuclear, go for it. Digital, AI or not AI or quantum, the reality is defense is behind it all. So I think that I love Europe. I think that Europe has been there, as I mentioned, through my career, 2,000 years. We've been 28 member states for 2,000 years. We survive our ways. We have a war, we go for a coffee. America is complicated, but the name of the game has changed. The times of the Borgias and the violences are there. And that's not gonna, we have moved into a new stage. Everything that we knew, the rule of law as we knew it, is gone. So I would say that more than ever, what you need is to be determined and clear in what you want, and you get to maneuver through it. And if you are able to be financially involved, your chances are much higher.
That's a very good point. So just for the closing, bringing in to that you said, getting involved in the game, what would be your advice to women getting involved in the game, and for those sitting without being part of the game? And let's try, okay, don't be judgmental of what you could have done or not done. What would you say? And I know we cannot give financial advice in a show like this. I will put the disclaimer. But from your personal experience and opinion, what would you say to them?
You always have to start on a safe line. I mean, assure yourself that you have something on brick and mortar. Unless your main residence or your secondary residence or whatever, get some brick and mortar. You can start investing with 10 euros. Go into those platforms that, eToro, there are tons.
Yeah.
You risk a little bit and start playing. So let's put 100 euros. Everybody has 100 euros. I'm sorry. Whether you work in the most like basic place or you are super rich, you can save 100 euros a year and play with that. So go into those structures that are easy and start like looking at whether you want to look into stock or bonds or whatever. Play with it. And play with it through like 5 months or 3 months and see you will lose money, you will gain money, start like getting a little bit the flavor. And I have told you which areas, in my humble opinion,
are coming, are there.
Yeah. I mean, and this is not fortune telling, huh? And by the way, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have time. I'm really bad, but I do risk my money. And sometimes I forget. And then I go, oh my God, should I have put this more money on this one? I would have got on my... But everybody, again, and don't pretend to be like, guilty or anything. It's like everything. I mean, having a little bit of a portfolio should be as basic as having an abonnement to the gym. Maybe sometimes you don't go to the gym.
Absolutely. I compare it to going to the gym because the idea of humans is like, I do one thing that works. No, this is something that you have to continue, right? And yeah, let's stick with that sentence, be part of the game. I read a nice book this summer. Life is a game and you need to learn to play it. It's Florence Scovel-Shinn. She was in the 1920s in New York, kind of personal development. She was kind of a coach, but also at the university, and had many good quotes around what you can do and should think about money. And that's part of what I think it needs to change. See money in a different way than what we are constantly communicating on the negative side. Yeah.
Excellent. Go for it.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us and see you soon.
See you soon, Rebecca. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.